Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So EX5 getting pretty close at this point, as well as Nationals for the US, for North America here, and the hype is on, right? Playtesting is in pretty much full swing for everyone that's serious about trying to top at Nats. Proxies have been printed, or just playing, tabletop simulator or just simulators in general. Playtesting is on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into our predictions for where the EX5/Nationals meta is going to fall for this year. Also, don't forget to check out our Etsy page. If you are playing Digimon currently physically, getting a memory marker for your exact deck is can be a struggle at times. So go check out our Etsy page. I'm sure we have something that will suit your needs absolutely perfectly. So do check that out, as well as we have some cool acrylics there as well for keychains. So if you want to pimp out your backpacks for Nats, or for just locals in general, or your fridge, or maybe even just want to use the acrylics themselves as memory markers, check those out as well. Okay, we're here on the tier list maker, and this is the tier list that I used last time. This is where our predictions led us. I did add a few more for the upcoming EX5 set, as well as a couple that got left off on the last one. And again, this list is comprised by Devi tier list here, so they're the ones that made the original list, and I just kind of added a few things here and there. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and roll through this. There we go. Forgot I had to add Holy Wave on the last one because there was no obvious set con. So this is where we ended for our BT14 tier list, and I think we actually got this one pretty spot on. There's just very, very few that ended up being a little bit different. One of them, of course, the Mirage Galgamon here ended up being much higher. Vaccine Angels a little bit lower. But all in all, I think we're pretty spot on. This meta has actually been insanely diverse so far, which has been really great. Every time we see other countries, like the UK National or the Europe Nationals, the South America Nationals and stuff, seeing results from Evo Cups and things like that. I mean, the spectrum is just vast. It is so insanely vast. I think what we're seeing here in the 1.5 stuff, absolutely. Even Beelzemon, actually, Beelzemon was up here in the 1.5 is kind of where it ended there. But this is going to be, again, for EX5 here. So we're going to adjust what we have here for where we think that's where a lot of this is going to be falling with the new support here. So a lot of this stuff, we'll start from the bottom because most of this stuff down here, it's definitely going to be staying the same here. Nothing really worth looking at too much here. Poor Eosmon. It's such a loved deck, yet cannot do anything. So some stuff. Leomon here can probably drop down here. I wouldn't even say gimmick is really even what we would call this. Let's just say not competitive. I think that's a competitive. There we go. Would be a more accurate description of this tier. It's not even really gimmick. Rogue tier is more of an awkward. It's not one or anything like that. Oh, also no tier 0. We're not doing a tier 0 here. I don't think we're quite there for EX5, but we'll see. Some other stuff here. Goldramon here, Godramon, whatever you want to call it. Not doing too great. Tidamon here. I think there's some promise with Lord Knight. It did get that new Nightmon level 5. I actually have an active Lord Knight deck that I have built currently. So I think it can stay in Rogue tier. I think that's fine. Monzemon here. This deck just not doing anything currently. We'll leave. This is Gamamon, and Gamamon's actually doing all right here and there. Gamamon actually doing well. Honestly, I might even throw Gamamon up here into low tier 2 status here. We got Leopardmon in Rogue. I think that's fine as well. It's getting a little bit more support. It does get the new Leopardmon X here soon, as well as we're getting all the the Indomitable stuff coming. So I think this can stay in Rogue tier. I think that's fine. It's It's okay. I think that the new trait or the new keyword, I think will definitely make it more viable. I think it's a pretty cool mechanic, the Indomitable. So if that's going to be worked into the Leopardmon, then yeah, we'll see where it goes. Jumping up into tier 2 though. Oh, this isn't Gamamon. I'm sorry. This is Dark Knightmon. We'll leave Dark Knightmon down here in row. Sorry, Proxymon. I get these two arts mixed up because they're just very, very similar. No, Gamamon staying up here into tier 2, totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. Rosemon, that's fine here. Let's see, Examon. I think Examon in tier 2 is fine. We get more support here for Edamon, and the Sukamon, stuff like that. I think that's a solid tier 2 deck as well. Rust Tyrannomon, though, I think we're going to throw it here in the low rogue tier. The new Ace and the other support just haven't really done anything for it, sadly. Love to see this deck be good again. Not that it was ever, like, super good, but, like, when it first came out, it was... Like, I would say it was rogue tier then, but it's never been anything besides that, sadly. Moving back up here, Craniumon here. This is like a blocker, like more of a blocker deck here. BT14 for like the first 2 weeks, like this deck would probably be pretty good. But I'll go ahead and throw it down here into like a lower rogue tier, I think. It's just not super popping off. Gamon there. Next we've got Gallantmon here. I think, and this is Gallantmon pure, mind you. So I think that's fine where it's at. Low or mid tier 2 status. Honestly, Examon could definitely come up here. I think that's pretty fair. Top end of tier 2 for it. We've got Cross 7 here for the Cross Heart deck. I think it's still a pretty solid deck. No complaints there. This is going to represent our your mill decks that are out there. So if you're trying to mill out your opponent, I think high end tier 2 is still pretty solid. This is very like dependent on the meta and like what decks are out there and what decks are doing what. If you have a deck that is real search heavy or draw trash heavy that is doing really well in the meta, then a deck like this could jump up into 1.5. But currently I don't really see it that way. Like during Beelzemon's hype, like this was a really good strategy to counter that meta. But currently not quite there. All right, jumping up into our 1.5, Beelzemon here. I think Beelzemon is still just fine where it is at. It's still just a solid deck. Beelzemon X is a very powerful card just because it's so, like, if your trash is super full, Beelzemon X is a terrifying card, especially with X Antibody. Just like, I'm going to X Antibody Digivolve into this mid attack, for 4 memory, like whatever. I don't care. I don't need to Digivolve on top of another Beelzemon. I don't have to do that. I can just use Beelzemon X with the X Antibody option and get like full value out of it. So, yeah, and then trashing all that security, I think it's a powerful effect. Powerful card right here. You can do a lot with Beelzemon X specifically. So, yeah, we'll throw it up here into 1.5. Next we got the Gomamon deck here. Gomamon itself, extremely powerful card, absolutely. Bukamon as well. We'll have Bukamon for a month and a half of this format as well as in Nats. So, that's definitely on the table there. But I would say the deck that those cards are designed to go into, that they were released with, this one here, not where we wanted it to be at all. Also, I did totally skip over this. This is going to be definitely higher. So we get the new EX5 support for Gabu. And it's so good that literally Bandai was like, okay, we're going to have to limit like half the cards that we're releasing for this deck just because it's so stinking powerful. Just the draw trash stuff. I think this is definitely like a tier 1 deck for sure. Like towards the upper end, like easily. Because basically the deck can basically get full combo and just like go absolutely ham on the opponent and never even need to go into a mega. They can just do all of that from a level 5 standpoint, and then whatever mega line you want to go with, you can do so many different things. And really at that point you have to break those decks down as their own individual decks, because the Garurumon core, like just looking at the Garurumon core from the level 5 down, that strategy goes into so many different decks. It fits into so many different things. But if we're just looking at purple Garurumon, just in EX5 alone, not looking ahead to BT15, then it's still super strong. I think it's definitely up there. But this is mainly just looking at the level 5 engine alone, level 5 and lower engine alone by itself, tier 1, and then basically each individual deck after that will be its own, like, basically tier 1 deck, depending on how you want to go about it. All right, continue back into our 1.5 stuff. We've got Alphamon in here. I think Alphamon on the low end of 1.5 is still fine, because of just kind of where it's at here. It did get a top at one of the regionals recently, so Alphamon's still hanging in there. So I have no problems, no issues leaving it in 1.5. Our Yukin is just, or Yukin is still a super strong card. Just let me gain back all this memory and just basically get a whole nother turn just about. Yeah, you don't get your draw for turn in your extra raising phase, but you gain so much memory, it's basically, you know, a whole new turn all over again. It's such a strong card. So yeah, we'll leave it here in 1.5. Mervamon, now this is going to be, I would say, Merva Loop, Cerberus Loop, kind of category here, because we're going to get the new Anubismon, which is going to be a new deck in itself and very different from what this is. This is like the cross variant and things like that. So the Merva cross deck, I think I'll throw it down here into a little bit lower in 1.5. The deck is so like dependent on having those option cards, the gain 2 memory ones, right? So what is it, Blinding Ray for the yellow one and Gravity Crush, I believe, for red. And if you don't have those and you don't get enough memory, you know, you can't really pop off and just blow your opponent out super easily. So you need your tamers and your stuff like that. It requires a lot more pieces. It can be super aggressive for sure, but it does require a lot of pieces, and it doesn't have as great of a setup or easy of a setup as the new Anubis deck does, because the new Anubis stuff is like draw trash, draw trash, draw trash, and then it's like all that stuff you're throwing into trash is instantly setting up what you need for your top end. So the new Anubis build for Merva, just way better. Diaboromon Ace here. Oh, man, I'm waiting for this deck to do something. Until then, though, we're going to just throw it down here into tier 2. The deck's just not popping off quite yet. We have been announced that the next set we're getting a new win con for Diaboromon, so maybe something will happen with this in the future sets. And maybe something's going to happen with this and it's going to be like super good again. But until then, for the EX5 format, we're just going to go ahead and throw it down here into the low end of tier 2. It's just too slow of a deck. Like, you have tons of pieces and whatnot, and so it can really like do what it wants to do no matter what pieces you draw. But it's still just that classic draw and like Evo normally, and it just doesn't pop off as fast. And that's a big issue, especially for the EX5 format, is because everything can pop off super fast. Like I said, with the Garurumon package here, the deck can just pop off and like full clear you with nothing but a level 5. Like that's rough. How do you handle that? So yeah, these slower decks here that require full Evo into a full stack definitely will suffer when compared to those kind of decks. Moving on, we got Machinedramon here being represented by the Chaosdramon. I think this deck is still pretty solid. It hasn't been doing overly well, but it still does, you know, solid here and there. So I think leaving it in 1.5 is fair. Like I said, the current format has been insanely diverse, been absolutely loving it. So that's really cool to see just all these different decks. I mean, like you see these top 16 finishes, and it's literally almost the entire top 16 is a different deck. Like, that's mind-blowing. So I think we can absolutely get away with having this 1.5 tier be super thick and full of stuff. So I'm totally cool with leaving Machinedramon up here. Red Hybrid, still doing well. I mean, it's a fast deck. It pops, and you know, it can pop off. There's not a whole lot of tamer hate currently, so it can do pretty well. I think it does deserve to go a little bit higher here. We'll go ahead and throw it up here next to Ulforce. I think that's totally fair. Next we got Mastay. Poor Mastay is just struggling so hard. I can't quite stay on the Copium anymore. I'm gonna have to drop Mastay down here to tier 2. It just requires so much. And Mireille is a 5-drop tamer. You know, back when you could get away with playing her for free out of security with the Greymon from the Shine Greymon deck there, the Geo Greymon that could play her for free. You know, that was a pretty powerful synergy, but now that that's limited to 1, that strategy is kind of out the window. It's just the deck is so slow, and just it requires such an incredible amount of memory to do the things it wants to do that it's like, cool, I got this big setup, I got some really cool plays off, but in doing so, I put my opponent to 6 memory. Like, oh god, that's pretty much going to be an auto loss for you doing something like that. So yeah, Mastay going to have to drop down here. Next up, we've got Belphemon here. I still think personally Belphemon's a super solid deck. It did really extremely well there for a good bit, and then it just like disappeared. The only thing I can think of is people literally just stopped playing it, and people have moved on to something else, and they're just not playing it. If I'm wrong, if you think that Belphemon isn't like it's been solved and people know how to play around it now, you know, let me know. But I still think it's a really good deck. And you can use the engine for other things as well. So if you're looking for like a good, you know, like trashing kind of engine, the Gizmon engine in here is pretty viable, I would say. So yeah, I'm going to totally leave Belphemon right where it's at. I think that's definitely fine. Next, we got Blue Flare here. Got tons of new support. Blue Flare is still just a really strong deck. Honestly, man, it's getting real nitpicky at this point. I'll bump it up a little bit here in 1.5, but it's really it's hard to adjust. The 3-drop level 5s, you know, that stun the board like crazy, so much stun, and then it can swing in. If it dies, they don't care. They're just going to material save on you. They you know, oh my god, there's so many different things that this deck can do. It's really cool. I do like Blue Flare, and I think it's totally got a great position in the format. It's another one that I'm surprised we're not seeing as much tops. We have seen a little bit of it. It has been here. We have seen some tops, top 16s, but not as much as I honestly, I kind of expected a tad bit more. Next up, speaking of, we got Bloomlord, which I'm just like, where is this deck? We got all this new, the new Palmon like Evo line and stuff like that. Great support for this deck. There's just so much that it can do. Where the green players at? I mean, if you're looking for a green deck that's like meta viable, like this is the deck. Like, I don't know what other green deck you're trying to play out there that's gonna do well. Bloomlord is it. I mean, Bloomlord with Hydramon, like those are crazy. And then you got Quartzmon as well in this deck. Those are crazy strong cards. All of those cards are so good. This deck feels super good. This feels like absolutely like no contest the best green deck in the entire game, like bar none. There's like no contest. This is the green deck to play, and I can't believe I haven't seen it like show up more in tops. It's very frustrating that I haven't seen more of it. Next we got good old classic Dorbrickmon here. Another one that I'm surprised we haven't seen. Like every once in a while, this deck is just like an absolute menace, and people really like are disgusted by it. But I haven't really seen it anywhere. I think it's still just as good as ever, if not better. Just because, again, we get new support anytime there is a you know, more Greymon support. Then you know you get that Metal Greymon and things like that. So, you know, there's so much to choose from for this deck, that whatever direction you want to go with it. I still think it's super good. It's another one of those. I'm just surprised we haven't seen more of it. But again, super diverse meta. So it's really hard to narrow down anything. Like anything is possible in this current format. Jumping up here next, we got Ulforce. Ulforce is like, I would say it's a step down from how Galgamon is doing. Like Galgamon and Ulforce are like hand in hand on how the decks are played. They are almost the same deck. Like, yeah, there is some differences there, but dang, they're so similar. The only issue with Ulforce though is you have to have the Tamers in hand as you're comboing off, whereas Galgamon you can preset up with the Tamers already on field, and I think that's the big difference there between the two. is Ulforce is a little bit more reliant on if you want to combo off, you have to have the combo in hand as you go and continue to have those cards. Where Galgamon's like, I can pre-set up, and then when I'm ready to pop off, I can pop off with just the Digimon element, and I don't have to also rely on my Tamers at the same, and having my Tamers in my hand at the same time. So that's the difference there. Still super strong though. Like besides that, still absolutely like super strong OTK potential here with this deck. Very, very high roll. If you can high roll with this deck, just absolutely crushes so hard in a good high roll environment. Next we got a Reshydramon here. This is going to be, you know, our, I always want to call it the cross deck, but it is not. I guess we're moving on. the Reshydramon deck here. I think it's super strong. The removal on it dodges so much protection, like removal protection in this game, just sliding something underneath a Tamer. The only issue is it is reliant on having to have those the Hunter deck. There, it came to me. The Hunter's deck. It's reliant on the opponent playing, you know, other things, and the opponent can play around superior mode here. So that of course is an issue, but as far as like a cross style deck, it's still super solid. I would say it's just not quite as great as we were kind of hoping. I think it's somewhere, it's towards the lower end of 1.5. I still think it's a 1.5 deck. This deck still tops in JP all the way to this day. So I think it has every potential to top here. It's just, are people are willing to play it or not? It still gets tops, you know, here and there, not as much. So again, like these other lower 1.5 decks here, it should be getting tops, maybe somewhere more like this. I think I also want to jump Beelzemon up a bit. There we go. Feel a little bit better about that. And like, it's all 1.5. The important part is all of this is in 1.5. The positioning in 1.5 is very nuanced. Like, it's almost irrelevant. I almost shouldn't even have to do this, but I do anyway, just for my own amusement. And then the last one here, we got Lugomon. I think Lugomon's still a great deck. Anubis is going to basically be the replacement for all those players out there playing Lugomon. You either continue playing Lugomon because you like Lugomon, you like dark animals, and you continue to play the deck. If you like the strategy and you don't care anything about the Digimon, you're going to go from Lugomon to Anubismon. Like, no contest, like that is going to be your transition. Makes absolute sense. I still think this deck is great though. Like, you can OTK on turn 2 if you have the right cards and you see the right pieces fast enough. So, and this is going second. So OTK turn 2 going second. So your turn 1 is going to be after your opponent goes, so you have a little bit more memory to work with. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that one. Really strong deck though. I think it's got every bit potential to be, yeah, I'm going to leave it at top of 1.5. I can't believe we haven't seen more of it. I think it's absolutely deserves, I mean, it almost deserves tier 1. It's just, it doesn't have the placings to back it up. But I personally will keep it at the top of 1.5 because I do believe in it. Jumping up into our 1.0, our top of the tier here. All these decks have had showings. Here, there, in some more quantities than others. But all these decks have topped. Royal Knights still a 1.0 tier 1 deck. I think a lot of people got kind of tired of it and they moved away from it when the new stuff came out, and now they've all started to transition back. So I think we're transitioning back at this point, and we're seeing more Royal Knights popping up again now that people are back on it. Rise Greymon, I think people were a little bit afraid to touch this deck again after the limits, but then the training cards came out and we're like, oh, well, we still have, what, 9 Geo Greymons that we can use that are still super good that we can like utilize in our deck. Like, okay, with the training cards to help us dig and Evo for super efficient, like by the time we're ready to pop off on our turn, that's fine. So yeah, we have limited quantities of cards, but I think it's totally okay. And then I think other people have realized that too. They're like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like the limit sucked because it, you know, they had to hit the angel strategy, but we're still just kicking and doing phenomenal things. Still like full OTK our opponent. Oh god. There's been so many games I've played with this deck myself, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm getting my butt kicked. Like, I just can't do anything. And then it's like, I just see like 1 or 2 pieces on my top end, and it's like, boom, 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 boom. Oh, the game is over. I just won. Like out of nowhere, just full, like brutally murdered my opponent's security and won. Crazy good stuff. So still super strong. Next, we got the vaccine deck here with the Angels. I think this deck is still just as good. We do see, we're seeing tops with it now. It was a little slow burn. I'm not going to lie. It was a slow burn to see vaccines pop off. I don't know if people were just afraid to play it because they were afraid to get countered, like hard counters out there for them or something like that. But it's here now and it's being played and it's getting tops. So I don't see any reason this deck should fall off. It's got speed potentially there. It's got really explosive turns. We've seen some drastically different builds out of it. The War Greymon, the BT4 War Greymon deck that topped, like that's so cool. Just really takes me back there to that old meta. So yeah, I think this deck's still 1.0. Commandramon, I'm still sticking with my guns that Commandramon is going to be one of the top decks at Nats. I would say this will definitely finish somewhere in the top 16, like without a doubt. I think we'll see, 2 or 3 of them. For a super long event that takes 2 days, you need something that's going to be very, very fast and extremely consistent. You can't afford any bricks. If you play a deck that has a potential of bricking in a 2-day long tournament like Nats is, I don't think you're going to be doing super well. And Commandramon basically can play the entire game with nothing but rookies and level 4s. If it gets all the way up into a mega, they've pretty much, that just seals the game for them, because if they haven't won yet, they basically prevented the opponent from winning by the time they get into a Brigadramon. So yeah, I think this deck is still tier 1. We've already talked about Galgamon. It's doing extremely well. It's super, super fast. It just requires a little bit of setup. And as long as it can get that setup fast enough, then it pops off and completely decimates. So yeah, I think this is still fine here. I personally feel that Commandramon could beat it though, just because Commandramon can get away with like going super ham on, with nothing but level 4s and stuff like that, while this deck just lets them get away with it. Next up, we've got War Greymon. This is Red War Greymon here. This deck has been doing extremely well. Like I totally expected this to do good, and I think in EX5 format, it's got just as good. It can do full OTKs. If you watched our feature match on the channel, this deck can just pop off and absolutely crush it. We saw it at the California Core TCG Regional. It did really well there. And I think it's going to do really well at Nats. This will definitely be in the top 16 for sure. We already talked about that. And then Black War Greymon X, I think it's in the same category as that War Greymon. They're both super similar. The only thing I think that puts Black War Greymon X in the lead for me personally is its control element and its defensive element to it. It can just continuously control the opponent's board while also dealing with their security. Between the piercing as well as the unsuspend, with that reboot and trashing a security with the I forget what set it was, but the Metal Greymon X, that when it unsuspends during the opponent's turn, it trashes the top card of their security. It's got super good control there. And the Black War X, of course, can redirect. It has that great redirect, as well as the Black Ties, giving it blocker. So now it's a double blocker. If you're playing the BT12 War Greymon, it's a double blocker because it blocks once, and when something gets redirected, it unsuspends itself. So yeah, I think the Black War Greymon X still super, super viable. Clearly it's viable. I'm leaving it up here at the top of 1.0. But moving on into our new stuff that needs to get added to the list here. First up, I left Jessamon off on the last one, and I think it falls somewhere here into tier 2. It's got good OTK potential still. I think that's the way to go with this deck, is very much a super fast OTK style. We're just here to clear all your security and then, swing for game, either with a Chimeramon fusing 2 sisters together or going Blitz Omni for game. So I still think it's a tier 2 deck, super solid. Jessamon fans, it's in a good position right now. If you're a Jessamon fan, definitely be playing this deck. Next we got Beelstarmon. Beelstarmon's been in a rough position ever since it lost Eismon. It's been, I would say, unplayable. Beelstarmon has been absolutely unplayable for a bit now, but with EX5 we get that new Garurumon support, and I think that personally I think this is a 1.0 deck. Because, why do I think this? So we're still getting that full Garurumon engine here, right? So because we're getting that Garurumon engine, it's just as good as that is, but we're going to replace our top end of the decks. We're going to clear out all our Garurumon stuff and run BL Stars, and then all of our filler cards in the deck, we're just going to fill it with 7 cost options. So we're going to have all these kill options that are going to be really, really strong against a lot of these other decks that are doing super well. So against like the Mirror Match, against other Garurumon decks, I think the BL Star variant is going to be the stronger of the variants. So, yeah, I just think that's going to be a really, really great deck. Really excited to see BL Star on the table again. I know I'm definitely going to be playing this deck in preps for Nats. It's one of my like top 3 decks that I'm kicking around for taking the Nats, actually, is the Garstar deck here. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Next up, for new stuff for EX5, let me jump back over here into EX5 on DigimonCard.dev, my favorite site to build decks on. No, I'm not sponsored. I just really love these guys. So yeah, we got Fanglongmon here. This is going to be for your Deva deck and for Sovereigns. I think it's a neat deck. It just requires so much stuff to do what it wants to do, and it's just, once it gets there, it's just like, it's okay. Like the Fanglongmon at least has that protection from Digimon opponents' Digimon effects, but like literally any option can still just absolutely kill like Fanglong. Not any option, but you know what I mean. Like the kill options still work really well for this. So I would say it's going to fall down here into somewhere in the mid tier 2. Just being a little generous with it. I think it's somewhere, you know, mid tier 2. For Fanglongmon. It requires a lot of pieces. There's just so much, like so many Devas and so many 4 Sovereigns. Yeah, there's 4 of them, sure, but you know what I mean, though. I mean, that's a lot of like setup that you need, and for you not to lose to these like tier 1 decks that can literally beat you on turn 2 and turn 3. Like, how are you supposed to combat these decks when you need like 5 or 6 turns to set up? Like on a good day, you need 5 or 6 like turns to set up. On a bad day, you know, you're looking at like 10 turns. There's just no way you're going to be able to compete with that. Next up, we've got Grace Nova. Oh man, I know this is a huge fan favorite. Grace Nova, absolutely huge fan favorite. The deck is not good though. I think it's really neat. I'll be generous. I'll put it above not competitive. I want to put it in not competitive, but it's kind of like the Alter S deck, right? It just, there's so many things it has to have, and it has to be able to do all these things. And if you just don't see like 1 or 2 pieces of your big strategy, the deck does nothing. Grace Nova itself, super strong card. Like, I think Grace Nova is definitely a card worthy of teching into other things. But the entire Grace Nova deck itself, nah, not so much. Oh man, what do we cover next out of these next ones? Let's go Levium. This is Leviamon Pure. With EX5 alone, I don't think this deck is going to be enough. We'll talk about it in future sets when it gets more support, like the Leviamon X and things like that. But until then, I'm just going to kind of just toss it over here somewhere into tier 2 status. I think that's fine. Again, this is Leviamon Pure. Not with the other crazy decks out there like Anubis. I know it's being teched into Anubismon here. This deck, oh god, this deck is going to be so brutal. Honestly, I need to move this down a little bit. Black War X, it still sits over here with Wargreymon. This deck, oh my god. So Anubismon is a crazy card. If you're not aware, right? So the combo potentials here is you evo into Anubismon, and then you can trash cards and then play a purple Digimon card from your trash. The idea is to play Mervamon, the cross Mervamon that we see here, and you're going to reduce the play cost of her, and then you're also going to cross evo with, or yeah, cross digivolve with her as well, so she becomes a 2 play cost. You can play her out for 2 memory, and then her effect kicks in, which allows you to then play out 2 more bodies, and then her effect is going to give everything with the retaliation rush. So now you're just like rushing your opponent down. It's a super crazy deck that can go wide super fast, and when it does, you basically rush all your stuff and crash it. You don't want to leave a big wide board to get countered. Like, you don't want Death X to counter you or anything like that. So you don't leave this big wide board. It all just rushes and either dies in security, or you use that retaliation with rush to kill your opponent's Digimon that might be suspended or something like that. Or you use the new Saberdramon that has raid and retaliation. So then you got raid, rush, retaliation, raid into your opponent's big threat, and just retaliation and kill them. This deck, oh my god, it's definitely been on several people's radar for being like, we're talking top 3 of Nats is going to be Anubismon, more than likely. It's super strong. I mean, it literally just got limited on the ban list on Monday, so that should absolutely tell you how strong this card is. It was very, very degenerate in the JP meta, so, and it like almost killed the game. This and Apocalypmon together, not together in the same deck, but like both existing in the meta at the same time, was really killing the JP game. So they decided to ban it, prematurely here, just at a, after a limited amount of time. So you can expect this will be like super, super good. If they're limiting it to 1, a mega, like limiting a mega to 1, it's going to be super, super stupid strong. So expect this to be played in abundance at Nat. So if you're not running any text to counter this deck, you might want to think about it. And then the last one, Setcon, my favorite. I love Setcon. You know us. When are we throwing some Setcon up in here? Oh man, where do we throw it though? You know what? We'll throw it over here, Vaccine Angels. I think that's fine. They're both like a control style deck here. Everyone hates recovery decks. Recovery decks that just you can never kill, and when you hit those big bombs in security, it's just super frustrating to have to deal with. No one enjoys it, except for the people playing it. Like me, as a long-time Setcon player, I have enjoyed it. Even if you take out the whole like bombs and security, I just enjoy I'm going to control my opponent's board, so anything you stick out, I just want to kill. And I just want to keep my security padded. So every time you hit it, I'm just going to get some back and just keep myself, at a comfortable amount of health while I continue to just control your board. And then I just either A, I just kill you with chip damage, or B, I just deck you out. It's more of that rather than like the security bombs. Like, oh, you hit into 4 chaos decks in my security. Like, how are you ever going to win anyways? Like, that's not how I want to win. I don't want to win because of stupid dumb luck. I want to win because I played my removal cards from my hand at the right times, and I played my recovery cards at the right times to counter what you were doing. So for that as a Setcon player, that's knowing every single deck in the entire game and knowing how to play my control recovery strategy in conjunction against all those decks. I think that maybe I'm just on copium here, but I think that if you're like a high-end Setcon player, like the fact that you have to know every single deck in the game and how to counter every single one of them takes such an elevated level of skill. Compared to everything else. It's not just Super Helmet. I just play Holy Wave every single turn until I win. It's not that. It's like, oh, I just put all my big security bombs in security, and now I just win because you can't ever do anything. That's not how I want to win with Setcon. Like, that's not how you win with Setcon either, I don't think. It's very much a know your matchups kind of deck. So I still think it's still tier 1. Honestly, people are asking for stuff to get hit on the ban list. I was honestly a little bit surprised, like stuff like Chaos Dag. Now we are getting more and more protection effects in the game that are omni protection. Like in general, like if you look at Brigadramon, we got the new Commandramon and High Commandramon inheritables, and it just said when this Digimon would leave the field, the battle area, you can delete one of your other Digimon to keep it on the field, right? So we're seeing more like protection effects like that are just like general. You can't put me under a tamer. You can't put me in security, in addition to all the other classic hand, deck, or trash removal options. So the more we see that, the more I don't think Chaos Deck quite needs to go anywhere because of that. But I know people are definitely getting tired of all the recovery cards that exist in the game, but like really, what do you get rid of? Because there's just so much. Like, if you can't just get rid of Holy Wave, right? They already got rid of Reinforcing Memory Boost, but you can't. If you get rid of Holy Wave too, they're just going to play something like Tactical Retreat instead. And there's also just tons of Digimon in the game that recover as well. So yeah, it's a difficult deck to hit on a ban list as well. I don't really know. I do like the strategy though. I can't argue that. But that's a lot of talk about SetCon. A little bit of favoritism for sure. But I still think this is probably where we're going to be falling here. That is everything put into it of where we're going to fall for the North America Nationals. I think this is definitely going to be like what we're going to see in the top cuts. Top 16 is going to have pretty much all most of all these decks. Like, you can like remove the Merva out of here, I guess, which, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just drop her down here just to keep it looking a little bit better. Everything fits on screen a little bit nicer putting her down here instead of up there. But yeah, you want to see your top 16. I'm pretty positive it's going to consist of these decks right here, Tier 1 and Tier 1.5. These are going to be your top 16 decks. So which of these, of course, remains to be determined. But be looking out for Anubismon. It'll probably be the majority of top 16, unless people find a hard counter to it, and then a lot of people play the hard counter to it and knock out all the Anubismon players, you know, and then to be determined on that, but it still will probably still make top 16, absolutely. If I missed any decks, please let me know. I always do, without a doubt. There's something that I left off, let me know what it is, and I'll give you my opinion of where it should go. If you disagree and you have a, a solid rebuttal, let me know. If you want to say I just suck and my opinions suck, you can say that too. It just helps me out and helps out the algorithm. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. If you're here all the way to the end and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit that 5K before we go to Nats. It would be greatly appreciated.